Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and tonight I have a little deck walkthrough to do for you, just 28 cards because it follows the phase of the moon. Sarah on For Love of Cards put this picture up, and I think she caused a little bit of a whirlwind, and a bunch of people I think ended up buying this. I know Patrick and I ended up buying it. And there was some question about cardstock and things for other people that were kind of on the fence about it, and I said I would do a quick walkthrough of it, and so that's what I am doing. Let me zoom in a little closer here so you can see. So this is called the Wild Moon Lunar Phase Deck by Tamed Wild. I'll put their website below. They have an awesome website with lots of different things, like an apothecary. I think it's called the Tamed Wild Apothecary. Awesome name. And they also have two other decks, a flowered botanical deck and a crystal deck. From what I understand, at least I know the crystal deck is not the same cardstock as this, where this is glossy. That one is more matte. I don't know. Turn my phone off. I don't know about the botanical one. So it comes in a really nice little box. It's a nice little, oracle-y kind of box. And it has beautiful silver scroll work on all of the edges. The back says Wild Moon Lunar Phase Deck by Tamed Wild. Navigate the month with the moon and her cycles. This deck includes 28 moon phase cards, one for each day of the lunar cycle. Harness the energy of the moon by using these cards to guide you through her nightly phases. Each card includes beautifully hand-painted art. One thing that it's a pet peeve of mine, folks, welcome to Kelly's Pet Peeves. There is nothing on the box, nothing inside of the box, even though there are, we'll just dump these out here. I don't want to mess the order up. Even though there's a deck card as well as an author card, there is nothing in or on this box that speaks to the artist of this deck. I assumed that it was Jillian Christina, who is the author of the deck. But I did find on Instagram, let me see if I can pull it up here, because I screenshot it. Hand painted by Zarina K, I believe is her name. So it was painted by somebody completely different. There's nothing on the box or the cards that even indicates that, and that's a big pet peeve of mine. So Zarina K, I found her, it just linked her in the Instagram, so that's how I even found out that this wasn't by the author of the deck, who obviously, kind of co-authored it, and with all the text that's here, but the images are a big part of an oracle deck, and I think that the artists should be discussed. Okay, and the pet peeve part. So you can see it's a nice box. It's a little difficult to, on my version on my box, it's a little difficult to get open and get your fingers in, but at least it has these openers so that you can grab it. But it's a really nice box. Really gorgeous on that. We have two art cards with beautiful kind of phases with the crescent moon, the new moon, and the full moon on it. I really like that. Those would be beautiful just set up even as like an altar card or something of that nature. So those are really beautiful. The author, if I didn't say as I was ranting, is Jillian Christina. And so there's information about there and how much she follows the cycle of the moon and why it's so important to her. And then of course we have just sort of the deck cards, so to speak. So that's those two cards. And then what we end up with is 28 cards that follow the 28 phases of the moon. Now these are numbered and they start with the new moon. So obviously the days in which the moon is, what phase it's in each month, is going to change, right? Because it's not, our months are 28, 30, 31 days, but the lunar cycles, which follows more of a 13-month pattern, which is something that I follow. Well, I follow the lunar patterns. That's going to shift and change, so they can't have an actual date on there. So it is the 28 days. So I think a real good way to do that is obviously start with the new moon as being number 1, and then you can kind of number it. I've actually written these out, card numbers out in my planner, just so that over the next while I kind of work with these or see how I'm going to work with these, I can reference those cards. So that's kind of how I'm approaching that. So you can see that there is a beautiful painting of the cycle of the moon, and it does change, as you'll see. And then on the backs of the cards, we have, let me scroll in a little bit further here. We have the new moon, keywords, generally 2 keywords. This is sacred darkness, and I will, as you will see, there's quite a few phases, say, of the crescent moon, right? But even though they might all be crescent moon, there is a different kind of keyword given to it and different influence given to it. So it's nice. You definitely are not just repeating the same energy. But let's just read the one for the new moon. The phase influence is rest and reflection. It is in this time we sit with our silence, because it is in this silence that the answers we seek will rise from the pools of our internal void, providing us with the fodder with which to craft our highest centered intentions. The history in the lore says, marking the first day of the lunar cycle, the new moon is historically linked to the goddess Lilith and rebirth. It is believed spells are more effective when cast under the dark moon, as well as being the optimum time for planting seeds in your life or in the ground. Women had gathered in ritual for centuries to harness the energy of this powerful night and manifest their desires. And then it gives you a ritual. Create your sacred space, let candlelight surround you, settle into your internal hearth and stoke its fire. Divulge your deepest, most heart-centered desires. Ask for guidance and watch as the sparks from your belly's flame illuminate the darkness with the answers you seek. Now this can change here. This is a crystal labradorite to enhance psychic awareness and mental clarity. Sometimes it is an herb, sometimes it is a oil, like an essential oil. So that's neat there. And then a mantra, I am conduit, the answers I seek flow through me now. So that is the information that you get for each of the phases of the moon. Excuse me. So new moon. Then we have, of course, we have the dark moon, which is, we're going to have several dark moons, right? As it's staying dark and it's starting to move into crescent. But we have sacred stillness instead of sacred darkness. We have different information although the second day of the astronomical new moon phase, many ancients did not consider this as part of the actual new moon phase, but rather the conjunction of the moon's passage between the earth and the sun. You get a new ritual about free writing, you get an herb with rosemary, and a new mantra, I embrace sacred stillness. So every day of the moon cycle you have something new. So we have the dark moon, or the second day of the dark moon, the third day of the dark moon, talking about the myth of the dark side of the moon. Again, I am pure potential. Anything is possible. Sacred possibility. So even though it's a extended phase, we get new things for each day that we have a phase, and that's, I think, fantastic. So here we have the crescent moon phase starting, as you can see in the image, with the empowered intent. We have the crescent moon continuing, waxing crescent, empowered awareness. We have the waxing crescent, empowered regeneration. We have I think the last waxing crescent with empowered ambition. So you can see the waxing crescents are all empowered. The dark moons were sacred, sacred darkness, sacred stillness, sacred possibility. And then we have empowered intent, empowered awareness, empowered regeneration, empowered ambition here. And then that brings us to the first quarter moon with confident action. Everything I need is already within me. I need only believe, then act. We have waxing quarter with decisive action. So now we're kind of doing action oriented. Waxing quarter, selective action. Waxing quarter, channeled action. Then we have the gibbous moon here as inspired connection. And you can see the number 12. This is the 12th day of that phase, of that 28-day phase. So now we're doing connections with the waxing gibbous. Illuminated connection. Oh, look at that. Waxing gibbous, so you just have just a sliver of darkness. Peaceful connection. Peace, peace, peace as our mantra. Full moon. Divine fruition and observance. Let's read this one real quick. Expected tension. The undercurrent of completion is surging, whether we see the tangible effects or not. We find ourselves reflecting on the past moon cycle and wondering, what now? It goes into the history and lore, a ritual. The metal is silver to banish negativity, as well as, of course, ward off werewolves. I am centered in my power. I am calm in the storm. Love that. Divine or full moon. We have the waning moon for transiting observance, whereas we had divine fruition and observance. So the full moons and the wanings are about observance. Stoic observance in this waning moon. Integrated awareness in this disseminating moon. Permeating awareness in the waning gibbous. Heightened awareness in this waning gibbous on day 20 of the cycle. The last quarter moon, we have the sanguine surrender. I am balanced. I am decisive. I make decisions from a place of power and love. Waning quarter, grounded surrender. So now we're in surrender phase. Joyful surrender in this waning quarter. Balsamic moon is exalted release. So now we're in release phase of the crescent moon. Threshold release. Change is necessary. Void of course in the waning crescent. I trust, I believe, I surrender. Waning crescent, void of certainty. I am all and all is me. That is enough. I am enough. And then on the 28th day, the dark moon, we have the void of creation. I am stardust. I am the earth. I am strong and I will persevere on. How beautiful is that? Oops, I put these all. So that is the 28th, 26, 27, 28-day cycle. Now today tonight, as far as I can tell, is on the 23rd. And so it is a waning quarter moon. Which is joyful surrender, sustained rest, rejuvenation. There is a joyful sense of surrender now. Cohesion is beginning to smooth out the disparate symbols and signs, providing you with the beginnings of a new framework from which to build. So that would be today's card for me. I'm going to get a little pouch for my planner to be able to put that in for the day and kind of focus on the energy. So how would I use these cards? Of course, is the question. I guess I don't necessarily see this as an oracle deck to randomly draw, because it's very specifically based on the days of the lunar cycle. Now, could you do that? Of course. I'm just saying for my own personal self, I would see this more. I will be using this at least for the first phase, especially once we come around to a new moon. I definitely want to go through them all, but I will be using that sort of as a daily kind of check-in with the moon. reading. And then also if I'm doing specific readings, right, for other people or for myself, I can have the card of what is the moon influence on that point of that reading. So for me, this would be a deck that I would very specifically draw a card based on the lunar cycle, not randomly. So I think they're really gorgeous. I will again check in with you after I've used these for a little while, but I think for anybody like myself where the moon phases are extremely important, I think this is a beautiful way of really working with it day by day through the whole cycle, instead of just at the maybe main points like a new moon and full moon and the quarters that we might be used to working with, but to kind of follow this whole trajectory, I think is a beautiful way to do so. I wish the cardstock was not glossy. It is glossy. The sides are beautifully silvered, which is great, of course, for moon energy. And it was just really good timing for this. The last lunar cycle, for whatever reason, the sky and where the positioning, where things are, the moon has been brilliant in all of the phases. I've noticed the minute shifts in the crescent moons, and just every phase, and not just the new moon and the full moon, has just stood out really stunningly in the sky every time I go out late at night to walk Isabel or something. And it's just been really powerful. And so to kind of wrap that experience up with getting this deck and being able to then really mindfully sit with each of the phases, the history, the lore, I'm really looking forward to that. So I just wanted to quickly show this. It's, not too much to, I knew it wouldn't take too long, but I wanted to show this for anybody who was kind of on the fence about it, because there was some talk of that. Again, cardstock is nice. It's nothing wrong with it. It's just glossy, which isn't my favorite. It shuffles really. I'm not going to do it because I've just got it in order, but it shuffles really as you would expect for glossy. It's not particularly sticky. It's more slippery than sticky. And so it shuffles fine. I just would have definitely loved this not in a glossy format, but that's just a personal preference for me. Some people love glossy. I don't know who you are, but some people do. No, I'm just teasing. So there you have it. This is just a quick look at the Wild Moon Lunar Phase deck by the Tamed Wild. I hope this helps the few of you out there I know who are trying to make a decision about this deck. And if you have any experience with this and how you might use it, please put it in the comments below. If you have any of the other two decks and have experiences with those, I'd love to hear about them. But thank you for taking the time to watch.